We are ready. Good evening. I would like to call to order the Kaiser City Council in regular session. It is Monday, May 2nd, 2022, and ask our city recorder to please call roll.
Councilor Herrera.
Here.
Councilor Reed. Here. Councilor Kohler.
Here.
Mayor Clark.
Here.
Council President Smith.
She is excused.
Councilor Starr.
Here.
Councilor Duran.
Here.
And Youth Councilor Coleman.
Here. Thank you very much. I invite you all to stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. We have several items under special orders of business, but before I get into that, I would like to extend a warm welcome to Adam Brown, our new city manager. Welcome, Adam. So after a week of drinking from the fire hose, I don't know if it's only figurative, we're happy to have you here and to be actually here and not on a TV screen as you have been a couple of times. So welcome. We are also honored tonight to have the Kaiser Distinguished Young Women who are with us. And I would like to start off with telling everybody what the Distinguished Young Women is about and then introduce these amazing young women. The Distinguished Young Women of Kaiser is part of a national scholarship program that promotes and rewards scholarship, leadership, and talent in young women. Cash scholarships are awarded at the local level and millions in college-granted scholarships are available. And local winners advance to the state program in Salem. Fatima Falcon, Distinguished Young Women of Kaiser 2016, is here to introduce the 2022 and 2023 Distinguished Young Women Representatives for Kaiser and the 2023 participants. Their hard work and perseverance is remarkable in and of itself, but they have also had to be flexible as the program has had to adapt to ever-changing public health requirements. These young women are the ones who are and will be making history through their careers. And Fatima, I would love to invite you up to, you'll need to be near the microphone so the people at home can hear you. And if you would start by introducing our Distinguished Young Women for 2022.
Hi, my name is Fatima Falcon, and I am the chair of the Distinguished Young Women of Kaiser this year. I was a Distinguished Young Woman of Kaiser for 2016, and I graduated from Linfield University with a bachelor's degree in chemistry. I now work with the Kaiser Chamber of Commerce, and I'm really proud to come and represent these young ladies to you guys today.
Hello, I am Ellie Ovnen. I was the previous year's Distinguished Young Woman of Kaiser, and I will be attending the University of Oregon in the fall.
And what are you going to study?
Music education.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lily Perky. I am one of the Distinguished Young Women participants. My college of choice is NYU Tisch.
And what are you going to study?
Hopefully musical theater.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Anna Sponable, and I am one of the 2023 Distinguished Young Women of Kaiser. My college of choice is Bushnell University, and I would like to study business and hopefully get a master's in business in nonprofit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kylie Jarnigan. I am one of the Distinguished Young Women of Kaiser representatives, and my college of choice is Western Oregon University, and I would love to study theater education. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jetta Mowry. I am one of the Distinguished Young Women participants, and I would like to go to Oregon State University, major in biology and minor in neuroscience.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm McKenna Epley. I am the first runner-up for this year, and I hope to go to the United States Coast Guard to study government and become a search and rescuer.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
So Fatima, can you tell us what's next for the representatives from Kaiser?
Of course, they're going to go ahead and participate in the Oregon State competition for distinguished young women that is going to take place here in August, on the first weekend of August, actually. Probably going to be in Blanchette High School, but I have not been informed on the final location. But it's going to be here in Salem, here in the capital.
Well, thank you so much. And I want to thank all of these distinguished young women, not only for your hard work, but also for the future that you represent for our community and for our state and for our nation. To these distinguished young women of Kaiser. And if you would bear with us, we are now going to go to our special order of business this evening, which is continuing to honor people and our heritage in our community. And this is the proclamation for the Asian Pacific Heritage Month. Let me get to the right page here. And the proclamation reads as follows. Whereas Asian and Pacific Islander community members have made significant contributions to the culture, economy, and heritage of Kaiser. And whereas Asian and Pacific Islander encompasses all of the Asian continent and Pacific Islands, and is comprised of many nations and cultures, each with a unique identity and rich heritage, encompassing approximately 50 ethnic groups speaking over 100 languages. And I'm going to list these all because it's important. Whereas Eastern Asia includes China, Hong Kong, Japan, South Korea, North Korea, Macau, Mongolia, Paracel Islands, and Taiwan. Southeastern Asia includes Brunei, Myanmar or Burma, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. South Central Asia includes Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Iran, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. Western Asia includes Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Bahrain, Cyprus, Iraq, Israel, Jordan, Kuwait, Lebanon, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Syria, Turkey, and the United Arab Emirates and Yemen. And whereas the Pacific Islands include Melanesia of New Guinea, New Caledonia, Vanuatu, Fiji, and the Solomon Islands, Micronesia, the Marianas, Guam, Wake Island, Palau, Marshall Islands, Kiribati, Nauru, and the Federated States of Micronesia, and Polynesia, New Zealand, Hawaiian Islands, Rotuma, Midway Islands, Samoa, American Samoa, Tonga, Tuvalu, Cook Islands, French Polynesia, and Easter Island. And whereas the month of May was designated in order to commemorate the immigration of the first Japanese to the United States on May 7, 1843, and to mark the anniversary of the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad on May 10, 1869, in which the majority of the workers who laid the tracks were Chinese immigrants. And whereas the Federal Asian Pacific American Council has declared the theme for 2022 observance to be Advancing Leaders Through Collaboration, which results in sparking innovation in organizations due to the diversity of creative ideas and openness for dialogue and understanding. Now, therefore, I, Kathy Clark, Mayor of the City of Kaiser, together with the Kaiser City Council assembled in regular session, do hereby proclaim May 2022 as Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islanders Heritage Month, and ask all the people of Kaiser to join together in paying tribute to the generations of Asian and Pacific Islanders who have enriched America's history and are instrumental in our future success. So this proclamation will be on display here, and there'll be activities through the month that help draw attention to the heritage, both past, present, and the future for our community, thanks to our community members who are Asian, Pacific Islander, and in our community. So I'm going to sign this. And this will be on display. All right. with that, we have another very important proclamation, one that we have not done prior to this year, and I'm excited to be the first to write this one and to make sure this continues into the future. And this is for Jewish American Heritage Month. Whereas Jewish American Heritage Month celebrates the contributions Jewish Americans have made since they first arrived in New Amsterdam in 1654 in search of better opportunities and made America their new home base, finding in it a place where they could openly practice their faith and lead their lives freely without fear of persecution. And whereas on April 20th, 2006, President George W. Bush proclaimed that May would be Jewish American Heritage Month. And whereas, despite facing persecution and racism through time, the Jewish American community did not give up and has come through each time. And if it weren't for them considering America their home and dedicating their achievements to this country, American culture, faith, commerce, and governance would have missed out on their tremendous contributions to our society. And whereas as a religious and cultural minority in the US, the contributions and experiences of Jewish Americans have sometimes been omitted from our country's national narrative, largely due to ignorance and history of bias against them. And whereas the people of Kaiser desire to fully and authentically celebrate and honor the influence and impact of Jewish Americans on American society, now therefore I, Kathy Clark, Mayor of the City of Kaiser, together with the Kaiser City Council assembled in regular session, do hereby proclaim May 2022 as Jewish American Heritage Month, and ask all the people of Kaiser to join together in paying tribute and respect to Jewish Americans for their tremendous achievements and contributions to America. And I will sign this one. And that will also be on display and give us an opportunity to be able to take time and engage in educational research. I mean, for people who don't already have friends who are or part of Jewish families, and I hope that we can continue to build relationships and community with all the people in Kaiser. So Jewish American Heritage Month and Pacific Islander Asian American History Month. So let's do this together. Thank you all very much. And I see one more distinguished young woman has arrived. So with everybody's indulgence, I would like to give us a chance to honor one more of our distinguished young women. Do you want to come on up with Fatima? There we go. And if you just tell us who you are, what college you plan to go to, and what would you like to study?
My name is Rainey Haley. My college of choice is OHSU, and I would like to go into nursing.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much for coming and making a special effort for you and all of our distinguished young women to be here tonight. Thank you very much. And let's give a round of applause to all of our distinguished young women. That concludes our special orders of business for this evening. We will now go to committee reports, and we're going to start off with the formation of Kaiser Rapids Park Turf Field Work Group. And since I wrote the memo, I think it's probably going to be up to me to read it.
Good idea.
Good plan, right? On April 11th, 2022, the Kaiser City Council held a work session on the topic of a grant offer from Marion County to build 2 turf fields at Kaiser Rapids Park. Kaiser Rapids Park is the only publicly owned and accessible land in the Kaiser system with the space for the fields that also has space planned for parking, fully developed bike ped system connection, and 3/4 of a mile from a transit stop. The need for sports fields was clearly laid out by County Commissioners Danielle Bethel and Colin Willis. There are turf fields at each of the 6 Salem Kaiser high schools, and those fields are used constantly with practices scheduled as late as 11 p.m. to accommodate the demand. School-based activities alone easily exceed the scheduling capacity of these fields, since the schools emphasize sports and activities as part of the model for student success that has been demonstrated to increase graduation rates. Grass fields, such as those at Whitaker Middle School, are used as much as conditions allow. Conversions of these fields to turf would not add sufficient scheduling capacity to meet the need, and the site already has constrained parking and traffic congestion issues. Mid-Valley Soccer Club and Capital Pioneer Women's Football representatives both laid out their space needs. The flexibility of turf fields to accommodate additional sports, including lacrosse and softball, adds to the local demand for space. The Kaiser community has long identified the need for space for youth activity and public gathering spaces. The 2009 Kaiser Compass, which created a 20-year vision as part of the comprehensive plan, identified needs for space for youth, recreation, and high-quality parks. Local youth programs such as Mid-Valley Soccer Club, local youth programs such as Mid-Valley Soccer Club need a place for kids to play that is not dependent on income and is easily accessible. Community-based sports such as Capital Pioneer Women's Football need space to provide more local programs. Kaiser is a leader in regional partnerships and collaboration. Kaiser Rapids Park itself was created through extensive collaboration with county, state, and federal partners, and is intended to be a regional asset. The construction of the turf fields would be one more way in which Kaiser Rapids Park would provide regional outdoor activity capacity. Therefore, it is my recommendation that a work group be appointed to complete the process to bring to council a recommendation on whether to proceed with a proposal from Marion County after review of the estimated revenues, expenses for operation and maintenance, sinking fund for field replacement. The sources of matching funds would be identified and included in the recommendation to council. If other funding sources are later identified, such as those through partnerships, that can be managed as a budgetary adjustment internally. The work group I am appointing tonight will be myself, Councilor Herrera, and Councilor Duran. Once the council has approved an agreement with Marion County, a subsequent work group will be formed to address items such as community partnerships, like the soccer club, football, and other McNary High School and other organizations, operations such as security, scheduling, and fees, and maintenance, additional requirements, and possible partnerships. Kaiser and our region need a place for kids to play where income, location, and access are not barriers. The generational impact will positively impact families and invite them to the park. We can get this done. We have partners. Let's do this. So tonight, I am making official the formation of this work group. I have talked to Councilor Herrera and to Councilor Duran and have agreed to be a part of this process to work with the county commissioners for how to go about an agreement for the ARPA funds. And we will bring a recommendation to council. We will not be able to form an agreement. We will simply work through details to bring that to council. I've been contacted by a number of people going, I want to be part of this, and I think that is fabulous. I have all your names and I have all of your email addresses, and I'll be calling you. But we can't have a conversation about scheduling and all the other details until we even know if we're going to have the turf fields or not. That decision has to happen first. So once the council moves forward with that, if the council adopts that recommendation, we will then have subsequent work regarding all the details and how to bring more partners to the table in the truly collaborative fashion for which Kaiser is famous. Good? We're good. All right. Here we go. We do have some other committee reports this evening, and first will be Matt Lawyer with the Claggett Creek Watershed Council.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council, and staff. For the record, Matt Lawyer, Chair of the Claggett Creek Watershed Council. I just wanted to do a quick recap on Soggy Day in the Park 2022. I want to start off first by, again, thanking the City Council for waiving the fees and allowing the event to happen down at Kaiser Rapids. We saw just north of about 250 people over the course of the day. It was an absolutely beautiful day, so far we're batting 1,000 on Soggy Day not being soggy, which is great. I just want to, this event is a lot of volunteer work, a lot of people that make it happen, and I want to call out just a few people for their efforts. I had some sponsorship from Remodeling by Classic Homes and Northwest Dental Arts, and Councilor Duran sent out a bunch of his folks to help out with the day, and so we had Chris and Matt, his son Matt, come out, and They were very instrumental in kind of helping get things set up with the bounce house and a bunch of other stuff. Want to thank Mayor and Chief Clark for their donation as well. And then Santiago Lopez with Sancho's Tacos. It was great. I mean, people were lined up for quite a long time to get tacos, and it was a lot of hard work. It was a warm day, and then he actually took some of the food and donated it later on that afternoon, which was really great. And then A to Z Rental for also being a good partner with us as well. They did about a 40% reduction on the cost of the bounce house because we're a nonprofit and we were doing a free event. Want to thank Councilor Starr for coming out and checking out the day. Madam Mary, there with your husband as well. Tanya and Gwen from the Parks Board were out there. Some of our city staff were Dawn and Austin, and Dawn brought out his grandson Hayden, so that was really cool. And the kids, if you didn't get a chance to see it, operating the backhoe was pretty awesome. They were a little bit further away than they normally are, but they still got a bunch of traffic. Dawn had the wherewithal to remember to get like some sidewalk chalk, and so the kids were doing smart on the sidewalk while they were waiting for their chance to do the backhoe operations. Of course, I can't talk about great community work without talking about Corey Falardo and her daughter Lucy helping out, and her son did about 600 laps through the bounce house, and I was accused once again of forgetting water, which I did. It's just one of those things that we don't think of sometimes. Mark and Chris Callier for doing the boat rides. That was great. Did a whole bunch of boat rides. I finally got to go this year, so I don't get to complain about not getting to go. David Loudon was out there helping a bunch with the boat rides and also the bounce house. Bob Bush, I think, deserves a Flavor Flav size medal. He stood there and manned the bounce house for the entire time, with the exception of about 20 minutes when he decided he wanted to eat. Huge effort there. Jeff Anderson was out there. He's with the Watershed Council. We had great partners with the Salem Environmental Group, Marion County Soil and Water. The Oregon State Water Board was there. The Marion County Sheriff's Office was there talking about water safety. They actually got to see the Sheriff's Office go and do a water rescue while we were kind of wrapping up at the end of the day. So Sergeant Matt Wilkinson had to go and do a water rescue, which was interesting. And then, of course, just want to say again, thank you to the city of Keizer for all the support. And just, it was kind of heartwarming. I had a gal kind of come up and she was giving me a little bit of grief because she didn't know what the event was. And after talking to her for about a minute and a half, I told her this is a free event. Just come out, enjoy the park. It's all free. And she said, "What's the catch? What am I signing up for?" And I said, "Nothing. This is all free." I said, "She said, tacos free?" "Yeah." So she left, she came back, she brought her kids with her, and they had just moved to the area less than a month and a half ago. And she said, this is just so neat. She goes, the community just kind of comes together for these types of events. I said, if you think this is fun, wait till the concert series, wait till Kaiser Fest, wait till all the other things we do. It's a really, really great city to be part of. So that's it. I just wanted to say thanks to all the people involved, and we had a great event and a lot of fun.
Well, thank you very much, and thanks for all the work that you put in to bring out this wonderful non-soggy day at the park, and just celebration of community, and it got a lot of people down to the park. That place was packed when we walked there because we knew better than to try to drive and find parking, and as it was already pretty full. We just saw dogs at the dog park, kids at the big toy, and people all around the park. It was a fabulous day. So if anybody wants to plan an event, watch for Soggy Day at the Park and plan your outdoor event for that day. Any questions, Mr. Lawyer? All right, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And then, the website for the Clagger Creek Watershed Council is?
It's a great question. We actually disbanded the website, but we're on Facebook, Clagger Creek Watershed Council Facebook group. Did the analytics on our website, and we were getting like 1 every 2 years people visiting, so cost didn't outweigh the benefit. So we're on Facebook.
All right, Facebook. Watch for those events. All right, thank you. Our next committee report is from Hearst Sangster, and we have a flyer up here for the Bike Skills Safety Fair.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and councilors. I'm here representing the Traffic, Bikeways, and Pedestrian Committee. Our last meeting was April 21st, so I'm going to give kind of a brief summary of that meeting. We had appearance from the West Kaiser Neighborhood Association, and we discussed items related to traffic safety, speed, tables and some stop signs in their neighborhood and some other issues. Jamie Davis, the chair, is going to be looking at doing a report on LED speed signs, speed tables, and pedestrian crossings at Lock Haven and by McNary and Chihuahua Road out here by the library, and be writing that probably to Public Works. Steve Wolf brought up the new Salem Bike Vision and how we might be able to partner with Salem on that bike vision, on how the connectivity between Salem and Kaiser, and we'll be working on that. Councilor Herrera already gave me a name of somebody to talk to, so that will be really good. The committee is also continuing to look at our purpose, so we're on track to the original formation of the two committees, Bikeways and Traffic Safety. So we're following the plans laid out by City Council 2008, 2009. We're also trying to attend all the neighborhood associations to, especially if related to traffic safety, and getting some of those. Also, one of the big things that we're planning this month, and it's been in the works for several years, COVID did not help the situation, but with the committee and our beloved police department, we are going to be putting on a bike skills fair at City Hall, May 14th from 1 to 3 o'clock. This is kids of all ages. They'll be learning about bike skills. Northwest Hub will be here to do kind of mini bike inspections. Kaiser United will have a booth. Safe Routes to School will have a booth, as well as Oregon Traffic Safety Bike Ped program will be here. What's going to be neat about this is we'll be using the lobby for the bike instructions. So groups of 5 to 10 kids will come in and have an instruction on bike safety, the rules of the road, by a Safe Routes to School instructor. Third grade teacher happens to be my daughter, but she's been certified. And then they'll come out after, and while the kids are in here, Northwest Hub will be checking the bikes. The committee and Councilor Breed will also be there fitting helmets for kids that need helmets, and anybody else that would like to volunteer. And then the kids will be with some of the cadets and some other volunteers from West Kaiser to go through a skills route that we'll put up at the very south parking lot area. Using duct tapes, we'll create streets and stuff, and they'll go through those and check to see how they're doing and stuff. But when it comes to the end, we figured out how the police officers will take the kids on a cute little bike ride around the park and back. I got donations from Salem Kaiser Transit for flashers, because that's one of the things that's come to the committee through the neighborhood associations is the kids at night, adults at night need lights. So I got a big donation of flashers. So we'll have all those available that day. As well, the ones left over we'll try to give out the rest of the year. And we got a big supply of helmets.
Ooh, nice. That's
Thanks to some
fantastic.
good donations from local businesses.
Well, this is fantastic. We're really looking forward to that. And so for everybody watching, mark your calendar for May 14th for yourself, kids, grandkids, neighbor kids. Get them over here for riding, biking safely, both knowing what to do, and for helmets. We want to keep all of these kiddos safe. And you're also going to show them where the repair station is out front that...
Oh, my goodness, yes.
Yes.
We have
Free
three.
air.
We have three in Keizer.
And the three locations are?
Keizer City Hall, Salem Keizer Transit Station, and the big toy at Keizer Rapids Park.
That is fantastic.
And if anybody is willing to come and help, we'll start the setup about 11:30 on May 14th. And I am looking for donations for duct tape.
Duct tape, okay.
We used to use chalk to make the streets, but we learned from a particular principle, sometimes that doesn't wash off and the kids have that all week. And I don't want the police having that in their area all week. But duct tape, you put it down, pull it up, it's gone.
Good point. Some of that chalk now, that the colors in it are a lot less, let's say, washable.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Good to know with my grands, that way I won't get in trouble with their moms. Good idea. All right, May 14th. Any questions for Mr. Sangster? Councilor Herrera.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Hirsch, thank you so much for your continued work on bike safety. You've been doing it, 30 years? Huh.
Oh,
Since he was a child.
and I got to include Mary Ann because she's going to be
No, of
helping
course.
on this. So it's got to be 50.
Yeah.
We're not that old, so it hasn't been that long.
It does not. I know, I lived by you for 20 years. It doesn't go unnoticed, the hard work you do in the bike culture. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to you working with, that's Councilor Stapleton that I've been talking to.
This will.
And thank you for your expertise, because that group needs somebody like you, really. And by the way, what are flashers? That little thing that,
Yeah.
the flasher in my day was a whole different thing.
Oh, yeah. It's just a.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, just little lights.
Yeah.
That can clip on your belt or on your bicycle.
Gotcha. Thanks again. Go
You bet.
Bees.
Thank you.
I just had a really bad flashback to Bud Clark.
Oh, yeah. Expose yourself to Portland.
Yeah, let's not. Please, let's not.
Anything?
Anything else relevant to the event? All right, thank you very
Thank you.
much. Okay, moving on before we end up in more trouble. Let me get back to my script here. Oh, criminally, I didn't put that in there. All right, this takes us to public testimony. This time is provided for citizens to address the council on any matters other than those scheduled for a public hearing. We have one public hearing scheduled this evening, and that's proposed text amendments to the Kaiser Development Code and Kaiser Comprehensive Plan to implement the provisions of House Bill 2001 and Senate Bill 458 pertaining to the allowance of middle housing types. So if you're here for that, stand by. And let me go to my script. There it is. Didn't copy it. So before we get into oral, the people who have signed up to speak, I want to acknowledge for the record written testimony that was, or written comments that were provided between April 19th and May 2nd. And we received letters from Jacqueline Moyer, resident of Kaiser, opinion on CCRLS. And for those watching, CCRLS stands for the Chemeketa Cooperative Regional Library System. Chris Adams, resident of Kaiser, Kaiser Community Library, and another letter from Chris Adams, resident of Kaiser, ballot for citizen vote, Kaiser Community Library. So those all included in the record. And then this evening I was handed a letter from Tammy Kuhns, and it is actually in reference to some school board issues. So we will be forwarding that to the school board representative from our zone, and that would be Danielle Bethel. And also provided a letter from James Jones on the same topic, and it's also related to school board matters. And so we will forward those, and I'm doing this with Ms. Kuhn's permission. So we will forward those. And with that, then I will go to public comment. And just to remind everybody, you will be asked to state your name and your city of residence for the record. We don't ask for your street address. You have 5 minutes. It's your turn to talk and ours to listen. Whether presenting testimony, you are responsible for the content, even if it was written by somebody else. Council may ask clarifying questions, and we will refer to staff if there's follow-up information needed. Please direct all comments to the chair here. Comments impugning the character or motivation of city council members, staff, or our community members are out of order and not permitted. And distractions take attention away from the speaker. We try very hard to focus in on and listen very carefully to every speaker, and so we ask that you assist us by being respectfully quiet. And with that, I will go to the folks who have signed up to speak this evening. I'm going to start off with Carolyn Holman, and you have public testimony from Kathy Lincoln. Is that correct? All right, come on down.
Oops. Yeah, I have my own comments, and then I have a letter from Kathy Lincoln.
Okay.
So, my own comments. Thank you, Madam Mayor, councilors, and staff. My name is Carolyn Holman. I'm a Keizer resident and secretary of West Keizer Neighborhood Association. Rhonda Rich, WKNA president, could not be here tonight, but we wanted to reiterate our support for traffic calming measures on streets in our neighborhood, specifically Shoreline Drive and Cummings Lane. We held 2 general meetings devoted to traffic safety this year, and members came out to support measures to slow traffic in our area. We have brought the issue to the Traffic Safety Bikeways Committee, as Hirsch pointed out, as well as council, and we understand that mitigation measures have to be officially brought forward to the city through the Neighborhood Traffic Management Program, and we are working with Bill Lawyer to satisfy that step. The traffic program also subscribes to what it calls the 3 E's: education, enforcement, and finally engineering, as solutions to speeding and other problems with traffic. In light of that, we also plan to post notices on our website and Facebook page to asking drivers to please slow down and follow the speed limits and other traffic laws in our neighborhoods. A similar no speeding message from the city on its website would be much appreciated. Going forward, we also hope to work with the Traffic Committee and Council on any updates that might be made or could be made to the Traffic Management Program, which was created in 1999 and appears to be outdated and little used. On another note, WKNA is organizing a cleanup day for Palmacia Park this Saturday, 9 to noon. The Parks Department is providing, and Matt Lawyer is very helpful. He's helping provide equipment and collection barrels, and the Parks Department has also sprayed and arranged some tree trimming ahead of the workday. We appreciate the assistance in making improvements in this small neighborhood park. I understand a viewing bench will soon be in place, which is a wonderful amenity for this Riverside Park. And taking off my WKNA hat, I want to say that I support the Kaiser Library's effort to become a public library. I hope Kaiser can take the next step in service to its citizens by supporting this move. Our kids deserve a great library as well as great sports fields. And I will try to quickly read the letter from...
So I'm going to press pause because you're about to switch hats.
Okay.
So for your comments, thank you very much. I want to acknowledge all of that. And then with the Palmacia Park, for anybody who's looking for it, go all the way to the end of Cummings Lane. So come on down, it's gonna be a lot of fun, and hopefully we won't get the soggy rain that we had this past weekend, which makes Oregon so lush and gushy.
We should be so lucky. I don't think we're gonna be, but we can always hope.
We'll try, right?
Right.
All right, thank you so much. So now you are going to continue to the next item.
Yes, this is a letter that Kathy Lincoln, I believe, has emailed to the council, but she wanted it read into the record, and she could not be here tonight. Kathy Lincoln is a Kaiser resident. She lives on Willamette Drive. Dear Mayor and City Councilors, I applaud Kaiser Planning Director Shane Witham and the Kaiser Planning Commission for all their hard work on amending Kaiser's code to allow more flexible housing options. This is the right direction for our city. I understand that some feel that this was done under duress and pressure from the state. However, we all understand the need for more affordable housing. This has been a constant refrain for several years. Kaiser's median home price is higher than Salem's. If we want to encourage young people and lower wage earners to stay in the community and eventually purchase homes, we need to make a real effort to reduce the cost of housing and increase the supply. We know from past studies that expanding Kaiser's urban growth boundary would not accomplish those goals. The process of breaking out of the shared boundary with Salem would be expensive, time-consuming, and likely litigious. New housing in an expanded area would require costly infrastructure, utilities, roads, etc., and revision of school district boundaries, making new housing prohibitively expensive for most of us. Building homes where the infrastructure is already in place and close to existing jobs, shopping, and transportation is more efficient and cost-effective. In most cities, in the rest of the world, people live close together to conserve open land for farming and parks, and they prefer it that way. Closer to home, I recently visited Sherwood, which has a very attractive residential area of townhouses and duplexes and triplexes close to restaurants and shops. Middle housing types can be attractive. The Planning Commission has made an effort to be sure that the results fit in with existing homes in Keizer. Of course, we will rely on private developers and landowners to make good use of the code changes. I hope the Planning Department will encourage permit applicants to take advantage of the code amendments and construct a variety of housing types. I also hope you all will view these code amendments as a positive step toward providing more livable, attractive homes in Keizer. Thank you, Kathy Lincoln, Kaiser.
Right, thank you. So I have a question for, I think that goes under the public hearing, does it not? I'm looking at Mr. Johnson.
Yes, Madam Mayor, and I would suggest probably no discussion at this time since the hearing for that isn't open. And we do have a copy of that letter. So
Yes, that you should
that letter
have.
will be added to the record for the hearing that's coming up tonight.
Yep,
Thanks.
we'll make a note of that. Okay, stand by. I want to acknowledge it. Okay. And then I have another one that will also be part of that record, so.
I think Tracy has a copy.
Okay, would you please give Tracy a copy would you be willing to give her that copy of the letter so she can make sure it's in?
Yes.
All right,
I think it's,
Okay.
I always use paper, so there is stuff on the back of it. You can-
well, do we already have a copy of that?
I think
No, we
it's
do
an
not.
agenda, so,
Okay,
but
all right, well, I'll make sure we have that as part of the record. Because I don't remember seeing it either. But I'm only one of 7. All right, thank you very much. I really appreciate that, Carolyn. Jacqueline Green, special thanks for Parks and Rec for the new trees. Come on down, good to see you. And just your name and city of residence for the record.
My name's Jacqueline Green, and I live in Kaiser. And I want to really thank the Park and Rec for the new trees down here at the Kayak Creek Park. They're going to look so pretty when they get bigger.
Well,
Because that's what we need in the parks, is more trees down there.
Well, thank you so much for taking time to let us know. And big thank you to our Parks Department for a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and Tammy Coons to talk about Kaiser Fest and transit.
Hi, Tammy Kuntz, Kaiser. We have talked to some of the community members, and they were wondering if transit was going to be available for that with reduced fees or anything like that.
For the Kaiser Fest?
For Kaiser Fest.
I don't have the answer to that question. We're going to be hearing from some of the Kaiser Fest folks, and if they don't have the answer, they know who to ask. Would that be okay?
Perfect.
All right, and just for the record, so everybody knows, transit does run 7 days a week, but it is a 3/4-mile walk from the current last stop on Route 14 at Shoreline and Chamawa to get to the park.
Perfect.
All right. All right, any other questions? All right, thank you. So, speaking of which, guess who's next on my list? Jonathan Thompson and Corey Filardo talking about the Kaiser Chamber.
Is it okay if we stand since there's 2 of us?
Or we can just bring up another chair. Just, we need, if you can, just make sure you raise the microphone so we can hear both of you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor.
Oh, look at that. Shane's going to bring you a chair.
Well, thank you.
All right.
We'll have a seat.
There we
Again,
go.
good evening. My name is Corey Filardo, Executive Director at the Kaiser Chamber of Commerce.
Go ahead and pull that down.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm here actually tonight to talk about the visitor guide and business directory that the Keizer Chamber mailed out to all of our residents in Keizer. We felt that it was a good year to make sure that we all are reacquainted with the businesses in Keizer, and then become familiar again with our Keizer Art Association and all the things that the chamber has to offer. So I brought some, they're in the back. You're welcome to grab one if you need another one. We have some at the chamber as well. But I'd like to shout out Andrew Jackson from Andrew Branding, who did a fantastic job in designing this. My particularly favorite part is about midway, there's a map of all of the businesses down River Road. And if you are in the directory, your business has a number partnered with your listing, and you can find it on the map. So he just did a fantastic job, and he is the owner of Andrew Branding right down on River Road. He's next to Dutch Bros and the Sandy Thai restaurant. So if you have any design needs or branding needs, please go see Andrew. And I'm going to hand it over to my partner in crime, Jonathan Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. My name's Jonathan Thompson, and I live in Keizer as well. We are here, one of the things we wanted to update you on is back when all the state legislators had the opportunity to spend ARPA funds, Senator Thatcher had $4 million to spend, and she allocated $3.3 million to the chambers in her district for to help small businesses. We, in working with the Wilsonville Chamber, the Chehalem Valley Chamber, and Sherwood Chamber, have formed a coalition, and we submitted the necessary paperwork to the state, and then in typical bureaucratic fashion heard nothing and thought the project was dead until a $3.3 million check arrived in the mail. So what we're doing now is we have a survey out, and we're asking anybody with a business in Keizer, whether you are a chamber member or not, you're eligible for this funding. We are going to, we're using the survey to build out the program based on what needs people say they have. And then the coalition will then finish drafting the rules, and then the coalition will be accepting the applications and doling out the money. Rather than sending it to 4 different chambers with 4 different overheads, we decided to do it with just one group, so there's only one overhead and one group of people to deal with the federal grant requirements. So it's going to be split evenly between the 4 chambers, but it will all come from a central location. So the survey is out. It runs for another week and a half or so, and we invite any business in Keizer, the 97303 or 97305 zip codes to
307.
Oh, 307. My mistake, to fill out that survey, and that is what we will use also to build out the program, and then also to send people applications when the rules are finalized. Did I miss anything?
I think you got it.
Okay, nice. I got it.
Wow, that is fantastic news, and I love that you're saving money and by reducing overhead so more money can go out to our businesses in our region. That is fantastic thinking. That's what we do, right?
And a big thank you to Senator Thatcher as well for remembering small business in her ARPA funding request. So
that is fantastic. And does this, if you go to the Keizer Chamber website, you can get all that information, and you don't have to be a member, correct?
That is correct. The survey is open. The survey is open to everybody, and we will use, like I said, you provide your contact information with the survey, and that's how we'll get the applications out to folks when we're ready to disperse money.
Fantastic.
You can also find the survey on our Facebook and Instagram as well. It's just the Keizer Chamber.
That is fantastic. Great news. Questions for Jonathan or Corey? Councilor Herrera.
Yeah, I'm sure you have a survey in Spanish, correct?
That is a good question. I'm partnering with the Latino Business Alliance. I'm partnering with the Latino Business Alliance to make that happen.
There may be some businesses,
Absolutely.
businesses that
Yeah.
aren't even aware of it, so I
Yep.
don't know, I'm sure you have some kind of.
Yeah, I'm working with Paco Rosas and David Reinhold from the Latino Business Alliance, and we're getting that out to their.
I would suggest to add RJ Navarro to that list.
Sure, absolutely.
Because
Yeah,
he's
if you're
connected with
watching, give me a call.
Oh, you're here.
And one last question.
There
You can divide them evenly between all the chambers, is that what I understand?
Madam Mayor, Councilor Herrera, yes. So the administration will come off the top, complying with the federal grants and all those rules. And then, yes, the balance will be divided between the 4 chambers. At this point, it's planned to be divided equally, so.
Okay, I guess my question is, if there's like 40 businesses here and of course I'm just throwing numbers out there, and 20 over there, is that right? Does it matter? How many businesses?
I mean, all the businesses will be treated the same. So if we don't get enough applications to use all the money, we'll reevaluate. But we think there is more need than there is money. So we think that we're starting off dividing it equally. If for some reason that doesn't work, the committee can always change it.
Thank you.
And then I'm thinking of the demographics in those 4 regions. You have your urban, rural, you've got agriculture to high tech and everything in between. There's quite a mix of businesses in those 4 chamber areas. So when I'm thinking about what's out there, so this is going to impact quite a few and have quite a ripple effect, I'm hoping. And I think you're hoping the same.
We hope so too.
All right. Keep us up to date, would you? And also keep putting it out there so we can keep sharing that. And then can we get that link? Is it on our website yet? Would you please get that to the city so we can put it as a banner? Yes. So we can reach out? Yes.
I have one more thing.
Microphone.
I forgot to mention, please come out to the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast on Thursday. If you haven't, you can pay at the door. 7 a.m. doors open here. And then next week we have our Percy auction event. You can find all that information on our Facebook website or Instagram, as well as the golf tournament too, or you can give me a call. I'm happy to chat with you.
May is a busy month, even with Kaiser Fest moved to
That's
August. Right. We're still busy. All right, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Well, we're looking forward to more information on Kaiser Fest as that progresses. And we do have an agenda item this evening on that. It's kind of preliminary, but you heard the question that was asked regarding transit. So Ramiro Navarro represents Kaiser on the Salem Kaiser Transit Board, so I'd recommend a phone call.
I think that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, I think it's a really good idea too. See what can happen.
Yeah.
Asking's free, right?
That's right.
All right, thank you very much. Levy Herrera Lopez, a proclamation on AP, Asian Pacific and Jewish American heritage. Welcome.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Levy Herrera Lopez. I'm a resident of Salem, but I work for a nonprofit that serves Kaiser families, about 100 Kaiser families. We don't have an office in Kaiser yet, but hopefully we will soon. And I'm also a very proud graduate of McNary High School, quite some time ago. I don't want to say when, but I think it's the best high school in the district, I'll go on the record saying that. But I'm mainly here to thank you for bringing forth the proclamations recognizing Asian and Pacific Islander and Jewish American Heritage Months. Such actions are a good start, and they really help people feel a sense of belonging and being valued in the community, even though some might say it's just a small thing, but it really does help. As you probably know, since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, political speech helped make Asian Americans targets of increased harassment and assaults that resulted in several deaths even across the country. And since the same time, organizations such as the Anti-Defamation League, or ADL, have pushed back against anti-Semitic speech by reminding us that comparing something that bothers you to the Holocaust is deeply inaccurate, insulting, and troubling. So I wanted to take the opportunity to give some examples of how this language seeps into our everyday environment, because it's very insidious and very underhanded very often. So recently there was the Reawaken America tour held on April 1st here in Kaiser, where the tour organizer, Mr. Clay Clark, turned to his friend Aaron Antes and asked him what he thought the hospitals of today are being turned into. And Mr. Antes responded right on cue, "I'd say that those are the gas chambers of America." And according to the ADL, there is simply no comparison between the systematic murder of over 13 million people, including 6 million Jews, and the efforts to save lives and keep communities safe amidst a global pandemic. The American Jewish Committee, or AJC, also has a webpage called Translate Hate, where they list code words and phrases such as globalists, cabal, elites, and other words that are broadly used by that were really broadly used by speakers at this event, at this Reawaken America tour event in Keizer. For example, at one point during the event, General Flynn praised an archbishop who spoke to the event via video and said that in Ukraine, Putin is fighting against the same globalist elite that holds us all hostages, a puppet government designed by the globalist cabal. So again, these same words that have been identified as anti-Semitic code words and phrases being spoken. And not just by one or two people, but by multiple speakers at the event who even went so far as accusing Jewish figures of controlling a global conspiracy, which is plainly anti-Semitic. And according to the AJC and many, many other national groups and local groups. So even Mr. Clark, the tour organizer, again, at one point during the event here in Kaiser, turned to mention a person named George Soros, who happens to be a Jewish American billionaire and philanthropist, and called him a racist white Nazi during the event. At another point, Mr. Clark took the Hebrew name of an Israeli person and mistranslated it in a way that makes that person seem sinister and evil. And there was also, I think, a very interesting speaker, Mr. Scott McKay, who at the event here in Kaiser referred to elites as the problem. But at another event, at another stop of the tour in a different city, he had used a more direct word, one that I won't repeat, but it's a code word for this theory around a Jewish global mafia. That Mr. McKay was saying that they were killing you. They're now killing you in hospitals. They're killing you in the streets. They launched Antifa and BLM, and then he said, "I'm gonna rain down this blank storm on these blank bags until they are dead."
So is your testimony also available in writing?
I can send it to you in writing, yes.
If you would, please, I would appreciate that so we can read the rest of it as well. And I appreciate you.
Did I use the 5 minutes?
Yes, you did.
Because I timed it and it was actually 3 minutes when I timed it.
Mr. Wood operates the timer.
I'll trust you. But let me just wrap it up. Just the last thing, if I can say, is that denouncing hate speech doesn't mean attacking free speech.
Okay.
And protecting free speech does not mean allowing hate speech to go unchallenged.
Thank you.
And so you've done a really good thing with doing the proclamation. And I hope that's a start. And it's a very good first step. And if you do other steps, myself and other folks will be very happy to help you. So now I will definitely send you this.
We appreciate that very much. That will be a big help for Ms. Davis for our records as well. And thank you for coming and sharing your testimony as well. We appreciate it, and we look forward to partnerships for a stronger community.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So Carolyn, I had your other card, so you covered both, right? You're all, okay. Those got separated. At this point, I'm going to go to Circuit Court Judge, is a judge or a candidate? Iris Johnson? Judge. So my apologies, sir. I didn't have on here.
That's why I'm here, to
Yes.
introduce myself.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Your Honor. Happy to have you here. I would have extended courtesy, but happy to do so now. And thank you for joining us this evening. If you would please introduce yourselves not only to us, but also our viewing audience.
Nice.
We are broadcast.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for accepting my request for an invitation to come and introduce myself. I'm the newest Marion County Circuit Court Judge. I was appointed on February 2nd, sworn in February 14th. I'm sure everybody knows that's Oregon's birthday. Took to the bench on March 1st, so 2 months in. So I've been going around Marion County, going to neighborhood associations and introducing myself. I was at the Woodburn City Council last week. I was just out in Sublimity City Council before I came out here. I believe in access to justice, which means me as a public official, a judge, you can see who I am. I'm a real person. God forbid you see my name in the newspaper for a decision I made. It's me. You know, I'm willing to stand behind who I am so you know who I am. And just like city councilors, just like police officers, I'm willing to be seen, stand accountable, be transparent. I invite you to come to my courtroom. It's 4B. I'm one of the few public officials that you can actually watch them do their job. So you can see how I treat individuals who appear before me. I'm open to criticism, and like I said, I'm willing to be held accountable, being transparent. Somebody talks about the conspiracies going around of the secret government. I want to make sure everybody knows my courtroom is open, and I'm here to serve the public. So do I have any? Got a little bit of time left. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Yes, you do have time. And thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule and making it a point to connect with the community. I really appreciate that so much. And congratulations.
Thank you very much.
All right. Questions for Justice? Is that Justice or?
Justice is Supreme Court, and I think Court of Appeals. I'm just a judge.
Okay.
I am a judge. I still get used to saying it.
Just Your Honor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Welcome. Should I call you Judge Johnson or Arias?
Yes, you can call me Urias. I'm off the clock, so.
Anyway, I'm happy, and I got to know you, and I was really excited with what you were saying, and I think you put yourself out there, and I love that you're out there and saying, hey, look, this is what I do. And I had a pretty good time the other night, though. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming out.
And thanks for being here. That's great.
No, I'm happy that you guys have me here.
Anytime. Other questions or comments?
Nice, y'all made it easy.
All right.
Cool. Thank you very much. I
Okay,
know I have some heavy business. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate
Beautiful
it.
evening.
Thank you. Sounds good, Judge. I want to be involved.
Thank you. My license and everything.
Oh, that could be difficult. All right. And last person I've signed up this evening is Rich Walsh to talk about ARPA funds. Yeah, you're up.
Sorry, I haven't met him in person before.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Richard Walsh. I live in Keizer, and thank you, Mayor, for letting me talk, and council and staff. And I got 5 minutes, and I know time flies by fast, so I'm going to try to be really as quick as I can on this. I want to talk about ARPA again, because you have money. Kaiser has always dreamed of having money. Councils from the very beginning of the city till now have always dreamed of being you, having some money to spend on some things that we've been dreaming of for years. The biggest dream project we ever did was the Kaiser Compass project that I'm aware of. And I'm thrilled that you're following some of those dreams when you're looking at a library, which is in there, and you're also looking at the sports fields in Kaiser Rapids Park, and that's fantastic. I've testified that before. I'm not going to do that again. I do want to remind you of some of the things I haven't seen much movement on yet, but the rec center is in there as well. And there's also the path in Kaiser Rapids Park. I've testified about it before, but I'll keep doing it until it gets done. We have people in wheelchairs and on walkers and on, limited mobility, and they go about halfway through that big trail that goes into the woods, and they have to stop and turn around and go back, and they're not able to enjoy the whole circle. Anybody who's well-bodied can do the whole circle and go through the wooded areas and come back around the front, but people that are disabled cannot. And I think that we need to look at that again. We haven't looked at it for quite a while. One more thing is, I don't know if anyone's mentioned this before. It was reminded to me by Mark Wigg. I think he's running for Marin County Commissioner, but it reminded me, what about that project on Claggett Creek? And I was like, oh my gosh, that's right. I hope we don't forget. Claggett Creek has a greenway all the way from basically the Croc Center to Lock Haven and River Road. There is an existing greenway. It's just there for the development. And there's going to be some tweaks and some little things that have to be done, and we've never had the money to do that extra little push to make that an actual pathway, to make it a path for the children to go to school, to make it a pathway for them to go to the Croc Center. And I just want to remind you a little bit. We have, here's the entire Keizer Compass thing is 216 pages long. I did not do the whole thing. I will leave this with Tracy. I want you to look especially on the comments. I just copied the sections where they have all the comments of the citizen groups. I don't know if anyone remembers. I think Kathy, you were the only one that was there. But we had all the different groups, and the citizens were all lined up. I got 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Okay. I got all the different citizens lined up, different groups, red group, blue group, green group, whatever. And in almost every one of those groups, they said things about the rec center, they said things about a library, they said things about green space, and they said things about this path. And this path is amazing potential. You're not going to see anything else like it. Here's, can I have this?
Yeah, we'll give it to Tracy and it can get passed down.
Pass on
Yeah.
this single page. And then here, this too, Tracy. So if you look at Google Maps, or anybody wants to look at Google Maps, you can zoom out and you'll see the greenway. It goes from literally the Croc Center through underneath the parkway, underneath the frontage roads there, and all the way to the corner of basically where Walmart is. And it goes through Claggett Creek Park, and it goes through other public parcels. It goes through, there's other public parks we have that are totally undeveloped in that area. And we can make it happen. And a lot of people say, well, we can't afford a bridge going over the parkway, but there's a tunnel going under the parkway right now for Claggett Creek, and it can be developed into a pathway. And I got pictures of it right there. There's plenty of room. Will it ever flood? Yeah, sure, maybe. So will Minto Brown Park, and things do get flooded, but it can be closed, and you can let it happen. Many parks do the same thing. And there's tremendous potential. But what I really want to say is that the moment in time is going away. We won't have these kind of opportunities again. The next time money from heaven comes down like ARPA, it'll be too late. There is tremendous pressure on infill. You've already heard about the state laws about requiring that we have smaller zoning, we have greater intensity infill. We're going to lose the opportunity to develop this as a city asset for the kids to get to school safely without crossing any busy streets at all. For the kids to go under the parkway, or for everybody to go under the parkway, for a bike path system to connect up to the current bike path system on the parkway. We have a bike system right there. And there's a picture there. One of the pictures I took was the underpass in relation to the actually existing bike path right there. And you can see how easy it would be. This isn't millions and millions of dollars, but the opportunity, if it goes away, we're going to be looking at a Pringle Creek situation where you got to tear down massive infrastructures 100 years from now in order to make what we can do right now fairly simply. Downtown Salem, they went through tremendous effort to reclaim some of their creeks that went through their cities, downtown. Almost did it.
Almost.
Anyway.
All right.
Recognize your place in time and please act accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you. And on the Claggett Creek side, and Mr. Lawyer isn't here this evening, but I believe that project is already being developed.
Oh, I didn't get the memo.
So that, I believe it is coming to a park near us, but it's on the other side of the creek, where we got the Herbert Moore property. As part of I believe Mr. Lawyer mentioned that at a meeting not too long ago. That part is already being designed.
Right. No, I did hear about that.
Right.
What I didn't hear was that there was actual designs being in place to bring the path through under the parkway and to the Croc Center.
Well, no, we haven't had those conversations with ODOT and Salem yet because, as you know, and you and I both know, those are ODOT and Salem rights of way, and that would be a different conversation with the dollars going with it. However, we know their phone numbers.
Yeah, then now's the time to do it. It's the only pitch I'm trying to make, is that opportunity will pass by.
All right, any questions for Mr. Walsh? All right, keep reminding us. Keep reminding us.
I will.
I know you will. All right, thank you very much. That does conclude public testimony this evening. And what I'd like to do is go on now to public hearings. All right, because this is a big one. So I'd like to open a public hearing on the proposed text amendments to the Kaiser Development Code and Kaiser Comprehensive Plan to implement the provisions of House Bill 2001 and Senate Bill 458 pertaining to the allowance of middle housing types. City Manager, I believe this goes to Mr. Witham?
Yes, that's my understanding.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Madam Mayor, City Council, so tonight we have, well, I feel like I've told you a lot of times over the last several months, oh, we've been working on middle housing, we've been working on middle housing. So I'm feeling pretty good because I feel like, we've arrived. We made it. So tonight in the public hearing, we are bringing not one, not two, but 17 sections of our development code for your consideration. 2 are brand new sections. Most of them are just tweaks to our existing. And then there's also a chapter with some minor text changes in our comprehensive plan. And essentially, I've got my consultant here. They're going to give a presentation and kind of go through some of the details. But in your packet, I wanted to point out just a few things. We provided a kind of a high-level overview memo, about a 1-page handout, and then a little more detailed memo that kind of dug into a little bit more of what we're actually changing. And from the crux of it, this is, the House Bill 2001 and Senate Bill 458 that was passed essentially says, hey, where we allow single-family residences, we need to now allow duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, cottage cluster development, and townhouses, depending on certain parameters. And we can't hold those to additional design standards than we do to a regular single-family home. So these text amendments that we've brought, in going through the Planning Commission process, there was some kind of policy consideration points along the way. And essentially what is before you tonight for consideration does represent essentially the requirements of House Bill 2001 and Senate Bill 458. Included in your packet are also a couple of letters. One that we received a planning commissioner from a citizen that had kind of urged planning commissioner to consider doing more, being less restrictive than minimum requirements. And then just today, we put it on your dais, but we just got a letter today from Fair Housing Council of Oregon. Yes, that letter, and 1,000 Friends. And I got it late in the afternoon, so I didn't have a ton of time, but I did look through it quickly. And they essentially also are urging the city to consider allowing more than the minimum allowances and some things like reduce parking even further than what we have to reduce it from, and allow detached plexes as opposed to what we've proposed, which is kind of the standard. So I wanted to call that out to your attention because it is, written testimony they brought in. The one thing I liked is it's always great as a planner to get a letter from 1,000 Friends that said, we are in support of what you guys are doing, good work. So I thought that was good. That was a highlight for me. But yeah, with that, I would like to invite Matt Hasty and Brandon Crawford up to give us a little presentation and walkthrough on what these amendments mean, and then they'll be here for questions for you all.
All right, welcome. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks for having us here. So again, my name's Matt Hasty. I'm with the consulting firm MIG APG. Used to be Angela Planning Group. You've seen me up here before, I think, occasionally with that firm. Brandon Crawford, when I say we throughout this presentation, I really mostly mean Brandon, with a little help from me. So we'll take you through a presentation, try not to spend too long on that, and then be happy to answer any questions you might have for us after that. So just kind of a quick little bit of background. I think probably you've heard a lot of this before. HB 2001 was adopted in 2019 by the state legislature and applies to both medium cities and large cities. You are in the category of large cities, 25,000 or more, and you all, along with cities in the Portland metro area, are required to allow a variety of middle housing types in the same areas where you currently allow for kind of more traditional single-family detached homes. Really, the intent of this legislation was to increase the range of housing choices. A number of these types of housing kind of have the potential to be lower cost to build or develop. It doesn't guarantee that they're going to be lower cost, but it does increase sort of the range of housing choices for people in different neighborhoods kind of across Keizer and other cities. In addition to the House bill, The state went through a rulemaking process. Our firm actually assisted with that process as well, to develop a set of administrative rules and a model code for middle housing. And so a lot of the more specific requirements are embedded in those OARs and go kind of, they implement the House bill, the original House bill. So just in terms of the project, the city received a grant from the State Department of Land Conservation and Development for this work. And then we were retained to assist you all with that through that process. As Shane mentioned, and he's probably mentioned to you before, we worked really closely with the Planning Commission. Councilor Duran was there for a number of those meetings, 4 work sessions and a hearing with them. So talked through this stuff in a lot of detail. We also had an online open house, shared the project via the community with, via the city's website as well, and ultimately have what's in front of you now. And all cities who need to be consistent with these requirements need to do that by June 30th, 2022. So we're like a month and a half ahead of schedule, so that's good. So that's kind of where we are in the process. Just some images of different types of middle housing. I won't walk through all of those. I think you're probably all familiar with these. Some of these, at least one of these is in Keizer, and then there's some from other communities around the state. But these are the types of housing we talk about when we talk about middle housing. As Shane mentioned, in addition to the development code amendments, there's really just a couple of minor comprehensive plan amendments that are being proposed. Really just to clarify that middle housing would be allowed in single-family areas and to include middle housing in policies that talk about a variety of residential uses supported by the city, just to make that clear in your comp plan. In terms of the code amendments, as Shane said, we've got a lot of code amendments, or a lot of sections of your code that are being proposed to be amended. This is just a list of the zones, the different zones where the amendments would apply. It's essentially almost all of your residential zones, as well as the River Cherry Overlay District, which has a number of different base zones. So some of the requirements sort of vary among different parts of that overlay district. I'm not gonna read all these things. I'm just gonna kind of note that, as Shane said, there's tweaks throughout your code to implement specific standards related to middle housing, and those standards relate to lot sizes. The state requirements kind of prescribe what the minimum lot size can be for different types of middle housing, and really, in general, throughout your code, we're being consistent with those state requirements. And so I'm not going to go through these in detail. In a number of cases, you don't have to make changes. You're already consistent with the legislation and the administrative rules. So lot width, lot depth, setbacks, and for most types of middle housing, height, you're already consistent. We don't need to make changes there. So I'll just kind of note that. And again, I'll be happy to answer questions kind of as we go forward or at the end. These are just a couple of diagrams for illustration purposes. These are not things that are proposed to be added into your code, although there are a couple of those as well. So these are just illustrating kind of what the setbacks would be for these types of developments. And again, for the most part, we're not really proposing changes here to these types of requirements. They just kind of give you a sense of how these different standards kind of fit together and interrelate to each other. This is just kind of an illustration of some of the standards that would be applied in the River Cherry Overlay District. Again, I'm not going to read through all these. It's kind of showing you, though, that in that district, because there's different base zones and different standards for different types of middle housing, there's sort of varying changes to some of those different types of standards. So some of the changes to duplexes are different than the changes to triplexes or quadplexes or townhomes. I will just note that one of the changes to the code is to kind of replace common wall. I think it's common wall housing with townhomes. Did I get that right? Attached. Thank you. So just to be consistent with terminology throughout the code and consistent with the state rules. Minimum off-street parking standards. This was one of the things that the letters you got recommended kind of going above and beyond what's being proposed. But what's being proposed is essentially No change to single-family detached housing in terms of how many parking spaces would be required. It would still be 2 per dwelling, but consistent with the state provisions for all those other types of for all those middle housing types, you would just require 1 space per dwelling unit. I will also note that your code doesn't count a garage as a parking space. So if somebody's also building a garage, they may end up with 2 parking spaces. And I will also say these are minimum requirements. If a developer, builder, homeowner wants to provide more parking, they can. You just can't require more than these numbers per the state rules. And we just showed some layouts so you get a sense of like how that could look on a particular type of lot. So again, the layouts are just for illustration purposes in this case. Design standards, you have existing design standards for single-family detached homes. And so essentially in terms of architectural design standards, for the most part, the state rules say you should treat single-family detached homes in the same way that you treat middle housing types. So the recommendation here is essentially to apply those same standards that you now apply to single-family detached homes to middle housing types as well. And so this is actually a graphic, except in grayscale, that we'd recommend including in your code just to illustrate the types of the design standards we're talking about here. And we did make a few changes to these as well, just to make sure that they're clear and objective, because that's a statewide requirement that all design standards be clear and objective. So a few tweaks, and mostly just applying these to middle housing as well as single-family detached. Your code would be updated to allow conversions from either single-family detached homes to duplexes or to other types of middle housing. So this is just kind of illustrating how those conversions could take place kind of on the ground. So I won't describe all of these. I think the graphics are pretty self-explanatory, and these graphics also would be added to your code just to help illustrate what we're talking about when we talk about these types of conversions. Cottage clusters, they have some fairly specific types of standards that the state identified in the middle housing model code, and that kind of serve as we'll call it like a safe harbor for local communities around the state to adopt. So there are a number of specific cottage clusters where you already have cottage cluster standards in your code, so we needed to take a look at those and update a number of those to be consistent with the requirements of HB 2001 and the administrative rules. So these are just a few of the things that represent changes to your existing cottage cluster standards in terms of kind of minimum density for those, the amount of open space you can require for the common area that the cottages surround, and also to ensure that review and approval of these types of housing are consistent with the same procedures you apply to single-family detached homes. In terms of generally, that's also the case with really all forms of middle housing. You need to apply the same types of approval procedures that you apply to single-family detached homes. So there are a number of proposed amendments around your approval procedures to ensure that you're applying those consistently to all those types of housing. You do have sort of cottage clusters have some special use standards. That's okay because those are clear and objective standards, but it's still a type 1 approval process. So those are all the things that sort of represent, for the most part, kind of tweaks here and there throughout your code. As Shane mentioned, there are a couple of new sections proposed. One related to Senate Bill 458, which has to do with middle housing land divisions. That was passed in 2021. It's essentially a companion bill to HB 2001, but it was passed later. And it requires cities to allow for what are called expedited land divisions for middle housing. There was already some state statutory language around expedited land divisions. So this bill basically says you will, and other cities will, apply those same types of procedures to middle housing as well, either at the time the middle housing is being proposed, or if it's already on the ground and it meets all your standards for middle housing, then they would also apply to those middle housing developments. And essentially, we're sort of pulling in requirements directly from the state statute, but putting them into your code so somebody doesn't have to go looking for them in the state statute if they come in and want to propose one of these middle housing land divisions. Once that's happened once to a middle housing development, you don't get to come along and do it again and again and again. So that's sort of an important sort of element of Senate Bill 458. And there's one more thing I wanted to say, but I've forgotten it. That's okay. And there's also an updated section on, just backing up a sec, on expedited land divisions so that you'll have that in your local code as well. And again, not have to go to the state statute for all of those things in the future if you're coming in for one of these things. All right. So just kind of a few quick things. Oh, there's another section of the administrative rules that says cities, when they are considering adopting the standards to implement HB 2001, need to consider some specific methods around increasing the affordability of middle housing. And there are a couple specific types of strategies that are cited in the administrative rule. And so we've drafted some findings that sort of identify how you have in the past and how you will likely consider those types of affordability measures. These are things you did look at in your previous housing needs analysis project. So you've already done some consideration of these things. We understand it's a council goal to look at this topic in the future. So we're not sort of saying you will absolutely do this, but we expect you will likely do this moving forward. And because you still are going to be updating your housing needs analysis. Once you do that, there's a requirement that you draft what's called a housing production strategy. And that's typically a time when most cities look at these same types of affordability strategies. So we're just kind of noting this as something in the findings that go along with the code amendments that say, hey, here's how you as a city are looking at some of these different strategies around housing affordability, and particularly affordability of middle housing. So anything to add on that one? All right, perfect. I think that's it for the presentation, other than just to kind of reiterate the staff and planning commission recommendation, which would be for you all to approve the code amendments. And I will stop talking and just see if you all have any questions for me, or for Brandon if they're hard questions. So, or Shane if they're even too hard for me and Brandon. So thank you.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I've got a few questions, and I'm sure some other folks do. If we can get some lights back on. Yeah, you can turn your flashlight off. I'm gonna start with the last comment you just made about our housing needs analysis and housing production strategy. Yes, we do have as a council goal to form that work group, and the people who are going to be doing that work, a couple of us are right here, Councilor Duran and myself. We're hoping now we can kind of get to it, but it goes back to the question I asked when we did our housing needs analysis. How? We got nothing out of the housing needs analysis that gave us a means of putting affordable housing on the streets. Nothing. So I've gone back, and because you said you've got some, the draft here at the end, and apparently I didn't read far enough to find out what those are, because the Oregon Housing Community Services has more programs that are coming online that will maybe make it possible for us to work with some of our local developers and so forth, but it's still up to the property owner and the developer if they want to engage in that. But up until then, there was precious nothing that we could offer for stimulating affordable housing production. And I'm looking at Shane, because we had this conversation when we did our housing needs analysis, going, okay, now what do we do?
Yeah, and from a really high level, there would be just, and what we're talking about is the OARs basically said, hey, cities have to consider things that they can do. And they actually kind of dove in and said things such as SDC waivers. And so it's not like you have to consider affordable housing with a capital A, affordable housing like we think of, like a subsidized housing, but rather how can middle housing, when it is constructed be constructed at an affordable rate, right? So that's not more expensive than others is really what they're looking for. In our strategies document with the housing needs analysis, which is yet to be adopted.
Oh, that's right, we couldn't adopt it because we didn't
Right,
have.
there's, yes.
Got
And
it. I
yeah,
forgot.
so it's yet to be adopted. It's in a draft format and it's semi-close, I guess. But with some of the rules that are ever changing, when we get to the point of adopting that, we will have to create a housing production strategy within that kind of the next year. And so that is something that in that housing production strategy process, that document, which Matt referenced, that will be something that we can have an opportunity at least to look at options. Some of the things that the state has identified are things like a construction excise tax, where you can take and levy a construction, cities can levy a construction excise tax against new construction. I think it's like a 1%. And then you can utilize that money to help fund affordable housing projects. Now, the challenge in a community like ours is that that doesn't add up much when we're not building a lot right now.
You think?
So, but yeah, that affordability issue is something that we have to be able to, and I felt like, frankly, Matt and Brandon did a great job of, in the draft findings, essentially writing and saying, hey, here's some of the things we've looked at. Here's some of the things that we will continue to look at, because we know that, I know that you all will be responsible as we look at how do we deal with this. And to be fair, and this is kind of off the subject, but I just filled out a survey today that's being done through the University of Oregon. They reached out to everybody in the state of Oregon, and they're doing some work to kind of look at housing affordability in the state of Oregon. I feel like it's like the 10th survey I've filled out in the last 2 years on this kind of stuff. But, you know, everybody in the state is trying, and there is no silver bullet. There is no magic answer, at least not that I've found. So I don't know if that helps answer the question a little bit, but we
No, it's
definitely.
just really honest.
Yeah, we definitely hear, and I definitely, yes, I agree.
Well, and I don't want to set up expectations as people are listening to this, oh, great, we have a strategy for affordable housing. Because we're not just the bologna in the middle of the sandwich, we're the squish bologna in the middle of the sandwich, between the urban growth boundary, between the cost of construction, extraordinarily low SDC, so even if we gave that back, that won't get you much. I mean, we are very squish bologna, and the problem is that every solution I've seen is asking for resources we don't have. So it's got to be partnership, which is the conversation we really, really, really want to have. To you and to Shane and to the Planning Commission, well done. This was extraordinarily complex. And to get this all into one document was nothing short of phenomenal work. So huge kudos on that. But I just want people to have realistic expectations about a production strategy. We haven't really had that conversation about what that really looks like to actually get to production at this point. So just want to be really realistic about that. Okay, questions? Looking down this way. Looking this way, Councilor Kohler. Okay, and then.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just have a couple of questions. Can you believe that? So several places in the documents that you put out, it says that it allows, or this is a permitted use. Is there a difference between allows and permitted and require? So I guess what I'm getting at, I guess, is that if I have somebody that says, I'm going to put this group of single-family houses together, are they required to do any of these other things, or are these things permitted to do inside that what was a single-family dwelling zone before?
So I will try to answer that question. I think allowed and permitted are pretty similar terms. Typically in a development code, when something says this is a permitted use, usually it means permitted outright as opposed to permitted as a conditional use. Conditional uses go through a different type of review process. They have conditions attached to them. So really, middle housing types are required to be by the state permitted. Essentially, outright without going through a conditional use permit process, permitted in the same way you'd permit a single-family detached home on an individual lot in the same zone. So allowed is kind of synonymous with permitted, but permitted sometimes has that more specific sort of use as a term. Required, all of the requirements, all of the development standards that are identified within your code, you can think of those as requirements. Those are things that, yes, you allow a duplex, or you allow a triplex, or you allow cottage cluster development, but there are requirements on what those housing types look like in terms of the size of the lot they're on, the setbacks, the amount of parking, et cetera. Those are all requirements, I think. That's how I think of that. So when it says required, those are things that a developer, a builder, a homeowner would be required to do in terms of developing that type of housing. And I think the point of the legislation and the administrative rules is to say that in a lot of cases, those requirements are going to look fairly similar to some of these middle housing types as they look to single-family detached homes now, if that makes sense. So that's my attempt at required, allowed, permitted. Does that help? Did that answer your question or not?
But let me say, if I want to put some little development together, am I going to be required to use these different types of housing units in that development? No. Or are you saying
No.
It is possible to put all these things together? That's what I wanted to
Kind of the latter. Yeah, it means that if you have a lot and it's large enough to accommodate a duplex, you'll be able to put a duplex on it. If it's large enough to accommodate a duplex or a triplex, you can put either one of them on it. If it's large enough to accommodate, per the code amendment, cottage cluster, you can do that. If it's a cottage cluster, it does have to meet certain requirements, but you're not required to do any of those things. You're allowed to develop those types of housing in particular areas on particular size lots. Was that better?
Yes, because I've heard that there are some pieces of property right now within Keizer that require a certain mix of business and apartments or housing or duplexes and all that. And I just want to make sure that what we're talking about here isn't requiring a certain type of mix.
Not in the sort of vast majority of cases where we're updating your code. And I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, sure.
I think I know what you're talking about.
I think in that scenario, yes, we do have in our mixed use zone, there is a requirement for a certain mix of commercial and residential uses within the whole laundry list of the permitted uses in that specific zone. But with the middle housing provisions that we're talking about tonight, we're simply talking about in the residential uses of single family, and kind of to put it in an overview kind of look at it. As we've operated, I've been here for a really long time. We all know that. Like, I've lived here and worked here forever. So historically, the single family zone, which is like 70% plus of our land base in Keizer, the primary uses allowed in that zone have been single family homes. And so now we're essentially adding into that list single family homes, duplexes, triplexes, quadplexes, cottage clusters, all these different housing types that are required by this House Bill 2001 legislation. Historically, we've said, hey, you can put a duplex on a corner lot, but only on a corner lot and only if it's over 7,000 square feet in a residential neighborhood, which we see some of the neighborhoods built through the 90s and early 2000s. They did that pretty often. And now what it would mean is in most of everybody's neighborhoods, that if that lot is over 4,000 square feet, if somebody decided to take that single family home that's already there and convert it to a duplex, instead of going through a land use division or request for comments to neighborhoods or a public hearing or anything, it'd be no different than somebody building onto their house as a single family home and making it bigger. That's just get a building permit. So that's kind of what these requirements are doing. And it really, the House bill was kind of a housing options bill. So it definitely provides more opportunity for different development options. It doesn't have less options. It's all more options. So does that help?
Oh yeah, thank you very much. Again, I just wanted to make sure that in my mind that this isn't, oh, you have to do this, and that's great. So I've talked to a few members of the planning commission that worked with y'all, and I just want to commend the work that you did. They said that some of the requirements that were there that you had to put all together, what they were asking you to do is put lipstick on a pig, and y'all did a really good job of doing that. Thank you very much. That was the quote I heard.
I haven't been told I've done a good job of that too often, so thank you.
Sorry.
Any other questions? So I do have one more. The section that talked about expedited land division, infrastructure adequacy. When we're looking at some of our older neighborhoods that have the very big lots, you could be looking at whether or not, and in our older neighborhoods, especially West Kaiser, Southeast Kaiser, you start dividing, you don't have sidewalks, you don't have, some of them don't have street lighting, making sure that the water and sewer is adequate, up to date, and so forth. So while we might be expediting the land division, I don't know how fast we can expedite the infrastructure adequacy. Is that kind of addressed here?
It's addressed in that if someone's coming in for a middle housing land division, you can require them to make frontage improvements along the portion of the development that's facing the street. So you can do that. You also can and would require that they have separate utility connections for each of the units. So in those senses, yes, you're making sure that they have adequate frontage improvements and have water and sewer connections to the individual units. Beyond that, and then also just generally in the administrative rules around middle housing, you can require that if somebody is going to propose it, that there are adequate public facilities, but those are defined in a fairly specific way within the administrative rules. So there are some provisions related to that. Generally, it doesn't say you as a city have to go in and do those things. It says the development application has to show that they have, that the development will have adequate public facilities, and again, is defined the way it's defined in the administrative rules.
So not use it to create a barrier, but also not for the developer to say, well, city, you're requiring all this, infrastructure, and that's going to slow us down. Well, yeah. But to quote my friend, Mayor John McCardle, you got to know where the poop's going to go.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? All right. Thank you very much. Stand by. If we have questions from folks who are testifying, then we could call you back up. And appreciate that very much. I do want to acknowledge, as Ms. Witham did for the record, the letter we did receive from the Thousand Friends of Oregon and the Fair Housing Council of Oregon. Also, earlier this evening, we heard the letter from Kathy Lincoln, resident of Kaiser, regarding this, the code amendments. And was there another one? I think I just have those two.
There was one in the packet.
One in the packet from Mike DeBlasi. Okay, so those three letters are part of the record, written record. And then signed up for public testimony. Did Tammy step out? She did. She actually signed up, but I wasn't sure she wanted to comment on this. Is there anyone who would like to address the council on this matter this evening who may not have signed up? The floor is open. And did Tammy step out? Because she actually signed up to testify. And I'm about to close the public hearing. Yeah, that was the person sitting right there. I didn't catch her on the way out, so thank you. We're gonna stand by for a sec to see if she signed the right sheet, because sometimes people think it's a sign-in sheet and put their name on it. I don't want to take away that opportunity for her to make comments if she has some. Okay, and everybody be thinking about, and if there's anything else that you need before I close the record. Mr. Johnson.
Madam Mayor, you're not required to close the hearing yet. People can discuss up to the point of a motion.
Okay.
So if there's discussion. Sorry? If
There we
there's
go.
discussion, that's better. If there's some discussion or questions that council may have, or you want to discuss the matter again, you don't have to close the public hearing unless you're at the point of a motion.
Okay. I think we're pretty close to, okay, she's coming in. Okay. We'll just ask and make sure that if she wanted to testify. Any other questions, comments, concerns from council? Okay. So Tammy, I was going to ask you, you signed up for testimony on the text amendments. Did you mean to sign up for this one? No. Okay. I've got a very clear no, but want to make sure. So with that, I don't have anybody else signed up to testify this evening. Any final thoughts before I close the public hearing? All right. Public hearing is now closed. Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the Kaiser City Council accept the proposed text amendment to the Kaiser Development Code and Kaiser Comprehensive Plan to implement the provisions of House Bill 2001 and Senate Bill 458 pertaining to the allowance of middle housing types.
Second.
And to friendly amendment to direct staff to prepare an ordinance with findings to adopt the proposed revisions.
Yes, thank you.
Accepted by the second? Okay. So that phrase is added to the motion. Any further discussion? Looking, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously with one absent, that would be Council President Smith. Congratulations to everybody involved. This has been a huge lift, and thank you very much for your work on this. We look forward to the ordinance coming to us, to a council near us. That concludes our public hearings for this evening. And we are going to go to administrative action. And the first item up is item 8A, a resolution recognition of the Northwest Kaiser Neighborhood Association. And this goes to City Manager. Who's up for this one?
I believe Mr. Johnson has this
All
item
right.
for the neighborhood.
Maybe you're not. Okay. Oops. Now you gotta switch pages real fast. There it
And
is.
City Manager is correct. I didn't have it tabbed. Thank you. Thank you, Adam, and members of the council. The Northwest Kaiser Neighborhood Association has applied for official recognition under our neighborhood association ordinance, which we've included a copy of. We also have a petition, the bylaws, the map of the boundary, and their minutes attached. Under our review, the new proposed Northwest Kaiser Neighborhood Association qualifies for recognition, and I won't go through all the steps there outlined in the staff report. The matter is before you to ask any questions you may have, and then it's recommended you adopt the attached resolution, which grants official recognition to the new neighborhood association.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any questions on the staff report? I think there's a couple of folks from the proposed neighborhood association, so I would invite you actually to tell us a little bit about the proposed neighborhood association. And
When the party is.
that's right, National Night Out's coming out. And just make sure you get close up to the microphone so folks who are watching will be able to hear you.
Well, thank you for approving our request for the new Northwest Kaiser Neighborhood Association. We've wanted a neighborhood association in our area for some time, and we felt that we got some key people together, Marlene Parsons, Jonathan Thompson, Mary Ann Sangster as a voting member, and we worked on the paperwork and such and got it submitted. Our first meeting is being planned, Tracy, for May 18th, 7 o'clock, City Hall. And currently, Jonathan is vice chair, Marlene is secretary, and I am the current chair for at least this next year to get the neighborhood association. Some of the issues and things that we want to look at is, of course, a lot of the neighborhood issues are traffic, especially on Willow Lake and Windsor Island. Our area includes two schools, Keizer Elementary and McNary High School, as well as Samoka House. So we also include 2 of the mobile home villages. So we're kind of a diverse group, and we go, the boundaries, as you probably have seen, is down the middle of Chamawa Road to the end. So we don't have Keizer Rapids Park, and we go north all the way to the city limits on Windsor Island, and then back around, including the mobile home village, Keizer Elementary, McClure, Lock Haven, down the middle of Lock Haven to River Road. Okay. So the goal was to have 300 or more households, and I think we definitely with the new development. Now, one thing that we're going to continue to look for is we're one of the few neighborhoods that doesn't have a park. So we'll work on that.
Okay.
The other thing is I'm looking right at Tim right now. We'd like to have $500 to get started, and then in the next budget cycle. Jonathan, do you have any?
I think you covered it. Marlene just wanted to make sure we asked Tim for money.
Job done.
She's watching, you know.
I know. And Mary Ann has been very helpful in helping in the background and doing some of the notes for us and helping on the computer so we get all the words right. We got it past Shannon, so.
All right, thank you very much. Questions for these folks for forming our first new neighborhood association in many years. It was several years ago, we looked at some that were no longer even meeting and had the unfortunate duty to disband them. So we were down to 2, and then Southeast Kaiser came back, and then we were back to 3. And so we're finally rebuilding again, but it's neighbors coming together and deciding to take action that makes them happen. We can't tell you, here's an area, you are going to be a neighborhood association, boom. This is how we do community. So thank you for all the work that you have all put into this.
We'd love to have a counselor.
Well, that's something that I just made a note to myself that I'm going to be looking at the council assignments and assigning a council liaison to you as well.
In the first meeting, May 18th.
May 18th.
Volcanoes Day.
Volcano
Day.
Volcano Day?
Mount St. Helens.
Oh, Mount St. Helens Day, of course. Wow. I was going, wait a minute, did I miss something? Which is entirely possible. Okay. So that is something that I have on my to-do list after we move forward with this order of business. All right, any other questions? All right. With that,
thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the Kaiser City Council approve Resolution R 2022, recognition of the Northwest Kaiser Neighborhood Association.
I second that.
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R 2022, recognition of Northwest Kaiser Neighborhood Association. Further discussion. Councilor Duran.
Do we need to add in the money on that?
We're going to do that. I'm going to make that
separate?
Well, I think we'll do that separately.
Okay.
Yes. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously with one absent, that's Council President Smith. So fabulous news, congratulations, and to the request for funds for the remainder of the year, Mr. Wood, what do you need from us to make that happen?
Madam Mayor, City Council, we do have enough appropriations available. If I could just get a consent from you folks, if that's the direction you would like us to go, we can go ahead and make a payment this year, and then we can include the $500 for next year as part of budget discussions.
Okay. Mr. Johnson, do we need a formal motion? Is consensus sufficient?
Consensus is okay.
All right. Consensus to allocate $500 to the new neighborhood association. All right.
Just a question.
You have a question? Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Are we all going to be invited to the party?
Oh, my goodness.
Okay.
All right. We'll get a chance to, and also it'll be included in National Night Out. Fantastic. All right, we have consensus to go ahead with the $500 to help the Northwest Kaiser Neighborhood Association get underway. All right, thank you very much. And then I will look at the council assignments and talk to all y'all about your availability to be assigned to the new neighborhood association. Item 8B is the Southeast Kaiser Neighborhood Association Annual Report. And that goes to Mr. Johnson.
City Recorder Davis.
Okay.
Ken Gerloff, Chair of the Southeast Kaiser Neighborhood Association, was supposed to be here tonight to give the annual report.
Okay.
Don't see him.
So he's not able to be here. And is there anybody here from the Southeast Kaiser Neighborhood Association? So, yeah, the two. I would, with council's permission, I'd like to go ahead and move this to the next council meeting and give them a chance to come and make their presentation.
I will contact them.
All right, thank you very much. That takes us to item 8C, the fee waiver request for the Kaiser Rotary Amphitheater for McNary High School Audio Production and Technology, APT, stage show. City Manager, this goes to?
Mr. Wood has this item.
All right, Mr. Wood.
Madam Mayor, City Council, the city has received a request for a waiver of fees connected with the use of the Kaiser Rotary Amphitheater on Friday, June 3rd, 2022 for the McNary High School Audio Production and Technology Stage Show. The APT program is one of McNary High School's career and technical education programs that gives students the opportunity to learn the skills to run audio equipment for live shows as well as in a recording studio. This opportunity also gives approximately 75 musicians an opportunity to perform at a school function and also in the community. This event is open to the public and they are not charging any admission fees. This matter is before the council to consider whether it is appropriate to waive or reduce fees for the event. The breakdown of the fees is included in the packet. The total amount of a waiver requested is $548. It's appropriate for the city council to consider the matter of the fees and make a minute motion to deny the waiver request, waive some of the fees, or waive all of the fees for the June 3rd, 2022 McNary High School event. I did forget to mention that there'll be approximately 75 students involved in this, so it'll be a fairly large event. And with that, I'd be happy to address any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Questions? I've got a couple. I was looking at the application and it didn't check the box regarding professional security, but did mark the event will have over 50 in attendance. So is there a safety or security plan that has to be submitted?
According to our parks manager, there does not need to be a security plan for this event.
Okay. And then the other question I had was the boxes were not checked for insurance, toilets, or garbage service. Insurance is required, is it not?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so that wasn't checked. Was there something different, a different level of insurance that's usually checked on that application?
I believe that it'll be the regular $1 million of insurance coverage that we require for all events.
Okay, because I was looking at the form and it didn't have that checked.
I'll have to double check that one.
So in any motion that we do, we will need to state that the insurance requirement is included.
Well, this is a school.
Right,
This is
but they're going to
school.
have to.
Yeah, for sure, just that they are attached to the school. So.
Exactly. But we'll have to go ahead and have the, make sure it's in any motion that the insurance requirement is not something that we ever waive. Okay. And the other one was on, we're not requiring any additional toilets or garbage service. I mean, if they're having food out there, there's going to be some a provision for both. Is what's out there sufficient for 100 people? I mean, they're going to be getting there about 3 o'clock, and between 3 o'clock and 10 o'clock, sometimes you got to go.
Well, I'm just following the recommendations from the park manager. So at this point, there's no additional items requested, but I can go ahead and double check. Okay, that would be great, just to make sure that either the students who are there, if they're going to take care of it, or if there's somebody from school staff who will make sure those items are taken care of. Sure. Okay.
All right, that's the only questions I had. Any questions from anybody else? Okay, Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the Kaiser, do I need to do a separate minute motion or just move that?
Just move it.
Okay. I move that the Kaiser City Council waive all fees associated with the McNary ATP stage show at the Kaiser Rotary Amphitheater, making sure that they fulfill the necessary insurance requirements and that they take care of any facilities needs that are not normally addressed.
Okay.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council approve the fee waiver for the McNary High School APT stage show at Kaiser Road Amphitheater with the stipulations to include the insurance requirement and meeting other facility needs such as garbage and toilets or other amenities. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously with one absent, that's Council President Smith. And remind me of the date again for the show?
It is June 3rd,
June 3rd,
2020.
okay.
2022, sorry.
Okay, June
Forgot which
3rd,
year
so
I'm
everybody
at.
mark your calendar. Fantastic. Glad to showcase these extraordinarily talented youth, young adults. Kaiser Fest 2022, item 8D. And this goes to City Manager.
Madam Mayor and Council, Mr. Johnson has the next three items.
Okay. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Adam, Madam Mayor and Council. As you know, Kaiser Fest is moving to August this year instead of the Iris Festival in May. And there's work to be done on the grounds there. The Chamber has submitted all the necessary documents and permits, but staff has not gone through all of them yet. It will be coming back to Council for formal approval with some details. But in the interim, the Chamber has asked the Council for a more or less informal okay, if you will, so that they feel at least preliminary commitment from the Council before they do a significant amount of work on the ground out there. And so with that, I prepared the staff report with a minute motion. You can see at the bottom of the staff report for suggested language in the motion. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any questions about the request? Okay, seeing none. Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to preliminarily approve the location of the Kaiser Rapids Park as the location for the Kaiser Fest as long as the Kaiser Chamber of Commerce meets all of the conditions imposed by council.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council preliminarily approve the location of Kaiser Rapids Park as the location for the Kaiser Fest as long as the Kaiser Chamber of Commerce meets all the conditions imposed by council. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously with one absent, Councilor Smith. So there we go.
So Bob got his wish.
We're gonna keep on going. Kaiser Fest. Volunteerism. Okay, that takes us into item 8E, which is a resolution authorizing city manager to sign agreement with CASA of Marion County for American Rescue Plan Grant Act. And before we go to the city manager, I'm going to go to Councilor Starr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like the record to show that I am recusing myself of this conversation, discussion, and vote due to my position with CASA of Marion County.
Thank you very much. So noted. City manager.
Madam Mayor, Mr. Johnson has this again.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Adam, Madam Mayor, and Council. We have the agreement with CASA of Marion County. This is based on particular ARPA money. This is not the big ARPA money, as we would say. This is what we have called the bill post ARPA money. We literally called to file that because of the earmarks from the legislature. This was from Representative Post. It's part of an $850,000 grant. The majority of that's being spent on the Meadows pump station and well. Refurbishment, actually new well, I guess. This is $150,000 for CASA of Marion County. and the council had already approved a supplemental budget for that allocation. We have before you the resolution and the agreement with CASA, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any questions on the agreement? Seeing none, Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2022, authorizing city manager to sign an agreement with CASA of Marion County for American Rescue Plan Act grant funds.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2022, authorizing city manager to sign agreement with CASA of Marion County for American Rescue Plan Act grant funds. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed signify by saying no. Abstentions?
I will, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously with one absence, that's Council President Smith, and one abstention, Councilor Starr. That takes us to item 8F, resolution amending the Kaiser Personnel Policy Manual regarding holidays observed, section 13, page 53, amending resolution R 2010-2040. City Manager. That goes to Mr. Johnson, right?
Madam Mayor, yeah, Mr. Johnson is going to cover this for our HR manager who's not here.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. This was raised with staff and brought up with the city manager. All our holidays, with the exception of Columbus Day, are based on state holidays here for our employees. Columbus Day is then exchanged for the day after Thanksgiving in ours. So other than that, we've based all the holidays for our employees on the state and federal official holidays. Juneteenth has been added as both a federal and state holiday recently. The information we have from HR is a survey of other Oregon municipalities. The majority have either recognized Juneteenth as a holiday or are proposing to do so. And so it would be consistent if we're going to say that the last one we had was Martin Luther King holiday, which was added. So the matter is before you to take up the resolution and take appropriate action. And I'd be happy to answer any more questions.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions on the staff report? Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2022, amending the Keizer Personnel Policy Manual regarding holidays observed, section 13, page 53, amending Resolution R 2010-2040.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2022, amending the Keizer Personnel Policy Manual regarding holidays observed, section 13, page 53, amending Resolution R 2010-2040. Any further discussion? Councilor Herrera.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to clarify, does everybody understand what June 19th is, right?
Juneteenth?
Juneteenth?
Yes.
Yeah, June 19th is.
Right.
Okay, because it's, to me, it was time. Basically, it's just an anniversary of slavery was over, so in 1865. But I want to make sure that people know that because they hear that and sometimes they don't understand what that means. But thank you very much for that clarification. Thank you.
And that's a very good point. Last year, I did do a proclamation on this, and it's on the list to do again this year, because you're right. We have to be reminded what this is for and what the significance is for the Kaiser community and for our community at large.
Basically, it just commemorates the end of slavery, is
Right.
1865. Thank you.
It was the last location that finally received the news. Because it took a while, they didn't have Instagram. So, or other more efficient means of communication. But, all joking aside, that was a very important day for finally getting the word out that slavery had ended. So thank you very much for that. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously with one absent. That's Councilor President Smith. That takes us to the consent calendar. Are we good to keep going? Because it is past 9 o'clock. We can take a 5-minute break.
Keep going.
Okay, let's push through. All right. Councilor Reed, would you please read the items on tonight's consent calendar?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Tonight's consent calendar includes A, the resolution approving a report of consultant relating to Wheatland Road Corridor Plan. B, resolution designating contract signers for banking services and authorizing city manager, finance director, and mayor to designate signers for other banking functions, repealing Resolution R 2021-3162. C, report on disbursement of petty cash funds fiscal year 22. D, resolution restating the City of Keizer governmental money purchase plan and trust adoption agreement under Section 401A of the Internal Revenue Code. E, approval of April 11th, 2022 work session minutes. And F, approval of April 18th, 2022 regular session minutes.
Thank you very much. Are there any polls? I'm going to pull A for a question.
All right.
So Councilor Reed?
You just want me to read all those again?
No, we just have to.
Okay. I move that the Kaiser City Council approve consent calendar items B through F.
Second.
Consent calendar items B through F have been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously with one absent. I pulled 9A because I've got a question on how it was written. Let me get to that here. So my question was that the alternative 3 that is being referenced here is the modified alternative 3. It doesn't say so, but I wanted to make sure that it was clear that we're not going with the original, that because it was modified based on the information gathered by the consultant from the community, that we came back with one that was actually more efficient. And that was the one that the city council heard and approved.
Yes, that's correct. And we will, since we haven't made the motion yet, why don't we just go ahead and put that in there? And it's labeled in the report as modified, isn't it? That's what I was looking for.
In the report itself, yes. In the staff report, no.
In the staff report, it's not. And it should be in the staff report's is really not that important. What's important is the resolution. And I mean, that was the clear intent.
Right.
So I'm trying to see where it is.
It didn't, and I didn't find it where it said that it was with the modified.
Oh, I see. So the corridor plan itself is approved, and the corridor plan recommends the modified one. So I was afraid it just said alternative 3 in the resolution.
Right, but in the staff report, it refers to recommending alternative 3, and it was the modified alternative 3 that was recommended.
Right.
Not the original.
Why don't we just, Madam Mayor, since you pointed that out, so that there's no confusion at a later date, why don't we just simply add that to line 19, and that's on page 274 of the packet pages, where it says it's hereby approved. We will simply insert a parenthetical after the date of December 2021, indicate modified option 3.
Alternative 3? Modified alternative 3?
That's what I meant.
Okay. Okay. So this will be, the resolution will be as amended and do you want us to read that language in the motion?
Yes, please.
Okay.
So, corridor plan recommending the modified alternative number 3.
December 2021,
parentheses,
recommending, this approving the consultant report with Wheatland Road corridor plan as amended, line 18, specifying modified alternative 3. Will that work?
Yes, immediately after the date.
Okay. Does that work?
I think so.
Okay, give it a whirl.
All right, I move that the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R 2022, approving the report of consultant relating to Wheatland Road Corridor Plan as amended in line 19, recommending the modified alternative number 3.
It's line 18.
Line 18.
Second 18.
All right. It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R 2022 approving report on consultant relating to Wheatland Road Corridor Plan as amended with the additional line 18 after the date modified alternative 3. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously with one absent. That's Council President Smith. Thank you all for that. This takes us to other business. This time is provided to allow mayor, city council members, or staff an opportunity to bring new oral matters before the council that are not on tonight's agenda. Is there anyone on council that needs to bring forth any other business this evening? Councilor Kohler?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was contacted by a couple of businesses that had questions about the variance in the code enforcement that we allowed for signage on, for some businesses that we adapted during COVID-19. I was wondering, for portable signage, and was wondering how long that would continue.
That's a good question.
Yeah, so during COVID, when the pandemic came into play, I wouldn't say that we allowed a variance, but we did receive very clear direction from the city manager at that time that we would not actively enforce our portable signage rules. We have started reaching out to businesses as we've received complaints. Right now it's kind of difficult because it's also an election, so during election times, there's a different set of rules, so people can advertise candidates they want to support. But there is no official variance on the books. So if there's a specific concern, we would love to know about that. And we can chat with businesses and get them in compliance.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Good question. City manager or staff members, is there any new other business to bring forward this evening? All right, going to the staff updates then. I'll start with Mr. Brown.
I have nothing for the council tonight.
All right, thank you. Mr. Wood.
I have nothing as well.
Ms. Davis?
I have nothing as well.
How's the recruitment going for the city event center?
I do not know how many applications we have, but we have some. It closes on May 10th. So if you're interested, please apply.
And we're also recruiting for event hosts?
Event host, community center coordinator.
Okay. So go to our website, kaiser.org, and apply to work with some of the most fabulous people. All right, thank you very much. Lieutenant Copeland.
Thank you. Talking about hiring, we are actively looking for a property and evidence specialist one. And the reason it's number one, Donna Hill retired, as you probably know. And Amanda, who was hired about 2 years ago, has now took her spot. So she was promoted, doing a great job back there, keeping us above reproach. As you know, that could be the devastation of a city with our property and evidence. Continuing along the hiring, we did give a final contingent offer to a Alaska officer, and he will be starting July 1st for us. I know that's great. And then we have one more in the background process for full-time currently, and then we have a couple officers that some of us know very well that will be graduating the academy on, I think it's June 10th. So we will get them back after 16 weeks of the academy, which is great. That's about all I have.
Fantastic. All right, thank you so much, Mr. Witham.
I think I talked enough tonight. So
Mr. Johnson.
Nothing tonight. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you very much. Council member reports. Councilor Eric, can we start with you? We'll just go down the line to Ms. Coleman. Yes, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I kind of had a busy, I'm just going to give you some of the highlights. We, first of all, welcome Mr. Brown, Adam. I was at a conference, the spring conference for the League of Oregon Cities, and heard some very interesting and very nice comments about their former city manager in Ontario. Also, I want to mention that Wes did a great job, Wes Hare, and I really appreciate his efforts while filling in before we got Mr. Brown. The spring conference, I wanted to go a little bit about that because that's the first time our color caucus met, and it was really exciting because we, not being no Zooming anymore, and in person is so much better. And I'm really proud of our board. They're really open arms for our people of color caucus, and it's been wonderful. It's watching something started from the very beginning and come to fruition is with a lot of work has been incredible. So, and speaking of incredible, we started this week we launched the Kennedy Family Neighborhood Council, which we, through CBEL, which you're part of, right? Aren't you with CBEL? We have got the funds to and support resources to help organize that, thanks to Edward Angulo and Leslie Garcia. We ordered 50 pizzas from Costco. We had 350 people show up. Like I say, food brings people in.
Absolutely. Yep.
And you know, it was very exciting. I believe you guys were, Tammy, you guys were here there. And we were pretty excited because you always want to sign up like 15 key people to help us organize it. And we got 39 people signed up, including two young ladies over in the audience. And we're really excited. The one thing I say about the Kennedy community, which I've been involved with for over 30 years, and 5 principals, I say, they are very tight. And Jesse Leonard, the principal, has done a great job. Susana, the CSOC, and we have such great support there. And I'm really excited because this is a model here in Kaiser. And thanks to Chief Teague and myself, we lobbied for that for a couple of years, and it's here now. And although I'm done in December, I will be following up with that program, and I hope to get you folks involved. I will introduce Mr. Brown to our group once we start, because I believe in that community connection that we should all have. And I'm really excited about that, so it's so awesome. I was at the NAACP Freedom Banquet this Saturday, I believe, and I was with Mr. Johnson over there and Judge Johnson, and that was very good. We raised some money for the NAACP Freedom Fund scholarships, which they furnished for 2 students. The other thing I was going to talk about, Cinco de Mayo coming up. Be real careful, please. And for those of you, I say this every year, but Cinco de Mayo is not Mexican independence. It's the Battle of Puebla, the victory in I think it was 65. Anyway, so that was when the forces defeated Napoleon III and the French, and it was a huge turning point in the Mexican Revolution. I won't get to that, but anyway, that's a big deal. Also, I wanted to say one last thing. On May 5th, also, we're having the Chuck Lee scholarship event. Are you into that?
So I've asked, I think, Councilor Kohler, are you going to attend? I can't because I have a meeting at the same time. So Councilor Kohler is going to attend.
We talked about that.
Yes.
I will be there. So
okay, you're going to be there?
Are you still on the board, the advisory board?
Yes.
Okay, yes, well, we'll be there, and it should be really good in honor of a great person. Chuck Lee was a legend and my friend. Okay, and also the last thing I want to say is that I'm really excited that we finally got that Kennedy neighborhood council together, and it took a lot of work, and I'm so excited of that, and I've been working on that, and we've been working on it for so long, and it's nothing like watching something develop and get kids excited and neighborhood is excited about our community. So it's going to be, stay tuned, we're going to have some events, and I will be inviting folks to come and speak, you folks, if you can. So thank you very much, that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to tag on a little bit. They have a new director now at the Boys and Girls Club for Kennedy, and that is Shannon Phillip. Just got started. Sue Bloom from the Boys and Girls Club gave me contact information, so they are getting that up and running again as well. Now that schools are back in session, in person, the Boys and Girls Clubs are more important than ever. So very excited to welcome Shannon Phillip to that Kennedy community. Very exciting. Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So one of the more interesting things that I went to in the past couple of weeks is with Mayor, we attended the Alabama Learning Lab barbecue. That was basically what this was, is it was a debrief of a trip that several leaders in the faith community had taken, and this is also coordinated by the Salem Leadership Foundation. And it was a report on basically different communities and how they can build in principles of equity and inclusion, and making sure that we can get to know and appreciate our neighbors better, and which is really the bottom line for that. And so really some interesting work being done there, and how to implement these principles in both Salem, Kaiser areas. And it was very informative as we go into the Community Diversity Engagement Committee work next week, tomorrow, yes. So really excited to get that started. Met some very eloquent people with excellent hearts, and that was some really exciting work. Last week we also had the Meet McNary night, which is basically the incoming freshmen came and got to see McNary and take a little bit of a tour, and so that was really fun to see. And so thank you to all those who came for that. Last Saturday, I attended the League of Oregon Cities Women's Caucus meeting, and this was on Zoom still, but the focus of that was basically different communication challenges and different policy challenges that some of the women across the state, city councilors across the state were having. And it was just a really excellent opportunity to get together and share experiences and figure out, again, how to make our cities run more efficiently and better for our people. Miranda, you're going to talk about the celebration of music. Was that on your?
I'm aware of it, but I do not have
Okay. So, I believe it's this Tuesday or Wednesday. I better double check here. Tomorrow. Okay, so tomorrow night, Tuesday night, at the Elsinore Theater in downtown Salem, there will be the celebration of music, and this is basically all of McNary's music departments, the band, orchestra, and choir. And this is a really great opportunity for our kids to perform in that venue, and it will undoubtedly be a wonderful night, a celebration of music. Other than that, we've got just things coming up. Various Policy Workday has been announced. That's the Saturday at 9, and then most of the other things I was going to talk about have already been touched on. So that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm glad that Council President Smith isn't here to time me tonight.
She's probably watching.
I am.
That was other duties as assigned.
Look it.
Let me see your watch. So instead of going to the LOC conference this year, I went to the BYU graduation and got to watch my son graduate from BYU with a degree in music and viola performance. I'm very proud of him for doing that. I got back to greeters and then Keizer community dinner, where we had a little over almost 250 people. Thank you for Councilor Starr and Mayor Clark for coming and supporting that. And we got to welcome our new city manager, Adam Brown, and he got to visit with a lot of folks, and it was good. Thank you for coming and being a part of that. I went to the Marion County Reentry Initiative Thursday morning. That was very interesting. I have a bunch of notes on that, but I'll just say I went to that and it was good, along with several other counselors who were there. And things coming up. Tomorrow I've got a planning meeting with the Kaiser Community Dinner, and then also have greeters with the Community Library Board tomorrow morning. And then the Stormwater Advisory Committee at 4 p.m. also tomorrow. And then Wednesday I have Cuyahoga Creek Watershed Council, and I have the Library Work Group and the Chamber Board meeting. That's all on Wednesday. And then Thursday is the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast and the Chuck Lee CTEC celebration and such, and the Seaville Collaborative meeting at 9 o'clock. Also coming up the week after that, Thursday is the Percy event, 5:12, and 5:14 is the Bike Skills Fair. And then I sent an email out to all of the committee chairs informing them about the training for chairs and committee members, and look forward to seeing some additional things coming on that. I think that's it.
All right, fabulous. You did good.
Where's
Councilor-
Elizabeth?
Enjoying some time, well earned. Councilor Starr.
Nothing that hasn't already been spoke about. Have a good evening, everyone.
All right, thank you. Councilor Duran.
I'm gonna do nothing today also.
Well, you already did a lot with the Planning Commission, so I'm going to give you props on that. And on parks to Councilor Starr. Youth Councilor Coleman.
All right, so last Saturday was Soggy Day in the park with Clagger Creek Watershed Council, and unfortunately, I was not able to attend because McNary had their prom, which was such a fun time, first and only ever prom. And but it was such a beautiful day. It was literally so perfect. Everyone was worried that it was gonna rain in their pictures or whatever, but that didn't end up happening. So I'm glad that happened. Also, McNary's theater department is putting on a play called Puffs at 7 p.m. from May 18th through the 21st. And basically it's like what I've gotten from it is like a Harry Potter inspired / related play. So if you're into that, I would go to that play that McNary's putting on. And then lastly, I would like to officially announce that I have committed to the University of Oregon, and I will be going there in the fall and studying in business.
Congratulations.
So my time is coming to an end, like it's reaching the end, and I'm getting really sad about it, but yeah, that's basically it for now.
Well, congratulations, and congratulations to U of O for getting an amazing incoming freshman. You are going to rock it.
Thank you, thank you.
So, thank you, and you've done a magnificent job as a youth counselor. So, but just hang in there. You got to finish strong all the way through. Yeah, no.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, no senioritis. Counselor Herrera is going, yes, go Ducks.
I got some swag for you too.
There we go.
Oh, okay.
More beavers and ducks. All right. Fantastic. Congratulations. Just a couple of things to add. Coming up against the bottom of the hour. Continuing work with the Willamette Valley Council of Governments Legislative Committee. Again, getting ready for the long session. And we'll be getting more information out to all the governments in our 3-county area to make sure that we are hitting the major points that we need the legislature to act on. And one of the big challenges for us will be educating the new legislators. They get elected and they haven't done this before, so we got to bring them up to speed on what the key issues are and the difference between things like, you know, an area commission on transportation, metropolitan planning organization, things that when they ran for office, that wasn't in their onboarding. So we've got a lot of work to do with any folks that are elected through November. Did the Leadership Salem presentation with Chief Teague on the 21st. It was great having, again, we're back in person, so we were able to visit with this year's class of Leadership Salem. This is through the Salem Chamber of Commerce. It included both Kaiser and Salem residents who are going through this program. So got a chance to visit with them about how we get things done here in Kaiser. And I was also part of the Oregon Mayors Association If I Were Mayor contest judging. We had some amazing posters from the elementary, essays from middle school, and 3 videos from high school submissions. And they made the decisions very difficult. We did make decisions, and the winners will be announced and awarded at the Mayor's Conference the second weekend of August. Yep, that's the same weekend as Kaiser Fest in the city of Newport. So I'll be doing some driving back and forth. The Alabama Learning Lab that I did attend with Councilor Reed was fantastic to hear about the experience of these 30 faith leaders that went to Alabama. This is a national program that cohorts are able to visit with people who were part of the civil rights movement, the places where a lot of the significant events occurred, and to really immerse themselves in what is history to most people. For some of us who were kids or young adults at the time, to be able to tell the story now while people are still living, and to be able to make sure that the stories are not lost and the lessons are not lost, but can be the foundation for community building going forward. And on the Marion County Reentry Initiative breakfast, thank you to everybody who came. We had a lot of city council there, Councilor Duran, Starr, Kohler, and Reed, and Council President Smith were all there. It was an amazing morning, but also really it was great to get people together again and to hear about the phenomenal work that was spearheaded by the late Senator Jackie Winters, Dick Withnell, former Mayor Anna Peterson, and other, and former Marion County Commissioner Janet Carlson, that really got that going to make sure that people who are incarcerated, when they leave incarceration, do so permanently, and to provide the wraparound services and support and opportunity for people to succeed. And that program and the teamwork and the community continues to help people succeed and thrive in our community.
And we had it right here.
And it was hosted right here, so the City of Keizer was a sponsor for that event. So thank you all very much for that ongoing support. They raised over $29,000, which will help go towards some of the services that are not funded through other means for people who are have re-entered our community and succeeding. What else is coming up? You mentioned a lot of things that are coming up. I just want to remind folks that the Keizer Fire District did have to cancel a pancake breakfast. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but hopefully this coming weekend, as we celebrate Mother's Day, it will be an opportunity for either at home or with some of our local restaurants to be able to make that day very special for families throughout our community. Next week on Monday and Tuesday, we have Budget Committee. So you all got your budgets in your boxes. It's available online, so every community member can access that. If you want a print copy, let the city know. I think there's a small fee for producing printed copies of that document. Award-winning document, I might add. Just want to finish up with, also on May 12th, we mentioned the Percy Presents, which is the Kaiser Network of Women fundraising event for the Giving Basket program. Also that evening is the Latino Action Committee Scholarship Program that will be happening here at the Civic Center to award some fantastic seniors from McNair High School with scholarships to help them in their careers, and also let them know that we're investing with them and we know that they will invest back in the future with our community. So I'm going to call it good there and go to agenda input. On May 9th and 10th, we will meet at 6 p.m. Budget Committee, and that will be here, live and in person at Civic Center, but it will be broadcast. So if you want to sit at home with that wonderful notebook or your flat screen to watch the budget, please feel free to do so. On May 16th, we will meet here again, 7 p.m. in regular session. That's all I have on there. Is there anything else for the good of the order?
When's Mother's Day?
Mother's Day is this weekend.
Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you better remember. Olivia's going to make sure.
Cinco de Mayo, then Mother's Day?
Yeah, it's a great week. All right, and with that, the time is 9:37. We are adjourned.
Thank you.